evening. How's it going? Have I got the mics on? We've not been in the studio.
1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, the mics are on. We've not been in the studio for...
Feels like for ages.
Feels like a long time. Well, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to September's Try Before You Buy. September
already.
September.
Christmas will be here soon.
Christmas will be here before you know it. Quite a lot of movies in this month as well. So if it's your first time here, hello. I am Dan. This is Sam. We're here to take you through all of the wines in the lovely little Try Before You Buy kit that you will have been delivered if you're here with us now. So, before we get started, just want to check a couple of things. You should have put all of your wines in the fridge when they arrive. If you haven't taken your reds out, make sure you go and grab those out now. Those are 4, 5, and 6 with the green labels. And obviously 1, 2, and 3, hopefully they're nice and cold.
If your reds are a bit super chilled, pop them somewhere warm, in a sock, on the radiator, top of a lamp. No, don't put them on the lamp. Don't want to cause any fires.
No.
Anywhere really to get them slightly up to room temperature, but I don't know how quickly we'll get to them. Might get them really quickly, might take us a while, but it's probably enough time to get them to room temperature, so don't worry about it too much.
Yes, no, don't worry too much. You can, warm them up as you need to. So it's going to take us a little while to get onto the red, so don't worry about going to be putting them in like a mug of hot water or anything like. It's not a baby's bottle here. Yeah, don't get the bottle warmers out. But look, to get involved, which will slow us down as well, we do have an entire bottle of wine in that box to get through. To slow us down, please ask lots and lots of questions.
Yep.
So to do that, you can use the YouTube chat, and we see that here, or you can get involved in our Slido app. So get your phone out or a laptop, whatever you prefer to use. Go to slido.com, and when it asks you to enter the event code, put in SG Wine Tasting on screen now. Or if you're a little bit more tech savvy, you can scan that QR code and it will take you straight there. You can do kind of some polls as well. You can ask us Q&A. We just like to, the more we engage, the better. Now, what always happens is wines 1, 2, and 3. You're all a little bit shy. It's all very quiet. But by the time 4, 5, and 6 roll in, everyone's having a great time, and the questions get more and more random, which is fine.
Yep.
You know, ask us about the wines, ask us about life. It's all good. So don't wait for us as well. Get white wine number 1, it's the yellow label. Get it poured out, get it in your glass, and get sipping. See what's going down. I have just launched a poll on Slido to just ask you what kind of things you're tasting. So look, get yourselves onto slido.com. You can scan that QR code or go to slido.com and enter the event code SG Wine Tasting. That's where you can take part. But yeah, we'd just like to see.
There are no right or wrong answers here, guys. This is not a test. Put down whatever you want. It could be the name of a fruit. It could be the name of a plant. It could be the name of your favorite pair of slippers. Whatever you taste is right. It's all subjective. That's the right word, isn't it?
Subjective. Is exactly
it's
the
all
word
subjective. There are no right and wrong answers. We just want to get an idea of what you guys can taste.
Yes.
So yeah.
And as you put your answers in, they will appear up there behind us. The more of you that put the same thing in, the words get bigger. It's always just good for us to see and know. So yes, SG Wine Tasting at slido.com if you want to get involved in that. Right. What's been going on this month, Sam, while everyone's just getting number 1 poured out in their glasses? What's been going on?
For me, mostly school runs.
Yeah, school runs started.
Yeah.
Rain. Kind of things that need wine to pair with them.
Both of those things. Yeah,
both of those things need wine. Oh, there we go. It's all starting to fire in now. Smooth and fruity. I think I've been described as smooth and fruity.
Yeah.
Pear's winging it.
Zingy for sure on this one. And tang.
Subtle
I'm
tang.
not even sure if the tang is subtle. It's pretty damn tangy, I would say.
We actually drank this wine yesterday, and it wasn't cold enough.
No.
And that was not a subtle tang.
It was a bit too tangy.
It was slap your face off. Pear, peach.
Lovely
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, good. So yeah, keep those coming in. Really interested to see what you're saying. As I say, when you get involved, it all comes up here on screen. We'll see what's going on. Right, so we have for you this evening 3 whites and 3 reds. These are all new wines in this month. You have a little booklet there with you, so you know. Yes, the wines aren't a surprise, but if you want to keep that booklet closed, then just go with us as we go through, and that book's there to remind you tomorrow when you've got a thick head which wine was which. There is a little thing where you can circle your thoughts as well. We've added.
Put whether you like it or dislike it.
Yep. And yeah, we will also email you so that you know where they are. Keep that little postcard with your voucher on. That is your £10 voucher to come back and spend on your favourites. You don't have to spend it on these wines. You can spend it on anything across the store as well. Right, should we get going?
Let's get going.
Let's get going. I'm going to stop this, get the Q&A going. If you've got any questions as we go, feel free to just dive right in. I love interrupting him once he's in his flow. But Sam, what's going on here then?
Okay, so 6 wines, as Dan said. Some real corkers. Ooh, corkers. Some real crackers this evening. Some different stuff. Some stuff you're going to know. But a real mixed bag. One of my favourite collections of 6 we've done for a while.
That's a bold statement.
That is a bold statement. One of my favourite collections we've done for a while. Anyway, first of all, this first one that we're trying, white wine number 1. So it's zingy, it's tangy, it's got loads of, I've got to put it on its mark. It's zingy, it's tangy, it's got loads of citrus fruit flavours. It is super high in acidity, and it is Riesling from Funkstil in Austria. Niederösterreich, right in the north of Austria. This is a pretty cold part of the world. It's about as cold as you can get to grow grapes in. And so as a result, cold climate wines, we've got that zingy, zesty acidity, which for this one, I mean, I think it's so zingy and zesty that it's almost got a fizz to it, hasn't it? It's got that acidic fizz, like a lemon sherbet. Yes,
no, definitely. And Riesling, it can be, it's up there with Chardonnay as a possible Marmite wine, isn't it? You know, you tell people it's Riesling and I didn't realise I like that because it conjures up a lot of bad thoughts, especially from the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got 2 sort of bad reputations going on here. Riesling, we've had to live with the likes of Black Tower and Blue Nun from the Germans, going back to sort of the 70s and 80s. Super, super sweet, as was the taste back then, and then we've sort of grown out of that taste now. We prefer our wines, white wines especially, crisp and dry and refreshing. So yeah, nobody really likes those sickly sweet Rieslings anymore, and Riesling tends to be associated with that. Sweet Riesling in Germany is a huge thing. In fact, some of the most beautiful dessert wines in the world are sweet Riesling from Germany. But if that's not what you're looking for, there is tons of dry Riesling as well, and there's tons of dry Riesling in Austria. Now, Austria has had a bit of a tough time when it comes to wine reputation. The word antifreeze. I always forget that word. The word antifreeze comes to mind. There was an actual scandal in, I think it was 1987, where some Austrian winemakers, in order to make their white wine taste a bit thicker and fuller bodied, added an ingredient, a type of glycerol, into the white wine that is found in antifreeze. They were also contract winemaking for some Germans, and that got spilt into the German wine market, which then, because the Germans export a lot of wine to the rest of Europe, spread across Europe. Reputations ruined, huge scandal. Obviously, wineries shut down. People were prosecuted and went to prison for it, and it was just a couple of individuals in a huge industry. But for Austria, it was pretty devastating. Their export market disappeared overnight. Obviously, that's not the case for most winemakers out of Austria. This is 16th generation winemaking with Funkstil. Super modern place now, very cutting edge, very eco, very sustainable.
Produce all their own electricity.
Yeah, produce all of their own electricity using biogas and stuff. They make and grow all of their own seedlings that they plant into the vineyards to provide crop cover and benefit the soils. Super sustainable situation there. But with 16th generation wine growers, so also tons and tons of heritage and history and expertise, for me, got to be one of the best examples of dry Riesling I've had for a while. It is very, very good.
It's very
really
nice.
Dry, really crisp, really refreshing. If it's a bit too tangy for you, chill it down. Any white wine that's really high up on the acid scale, so from a colder country, you're not a big fan of those white wines. Chill them down.
I'm learning to love, but I can already feel the acidity is just it's up there.
It's crunchy.
Yeah. Someone's already commented, love this one, and it's had a couple of votes. We've had another comment as well. Tastes great with spicy Korean food. Spice and spice and high acid wine, is that normally a thing, or because we normally say more heat, more sweet, don't we?
Yeah, more heat, more sweet for sure. So if we're talking like Vindaloo territories and madrasses and stuff, you're going to want your wine to be sweeter and less acidic, because what will happen is the spice will kill off the fruitiness of the wine, and then all you'll have left is acid, and then you'll just be thinking like, oh, this is battery acid. The thing about that's unique to Riesling is it's also, well, not unique to Riesling, but unique to these types of grapes is it's also quite flowery. It's quite floral. There's not lots of fruit in here. It's sort of quite light and I'm going to say pretty. I know it's a bit of a snobby word to use. It's quite light white wine, and that does do well with those sort of lighter spicy flavors like Korean food or Thai
stuff that's like really what's the word, aromatic.
Yeah, aromatic, and that's how you describe the Riesling grape as an aromatic grape. So is Gewürztraminer from Austria, Gruner Veltliner. These are what we call aromatic grapes. Sauvignon is actually an aromatic grape naturally. So Sauvignon from cool climates is aromatic. It's not full of fruit. It's sort of quite light and pretty. But it's only when we take it over to like places like New Zealand and South Africa and it gets tons of sunshine, then it becomes very, very fruity. So yeah, an aromatic grape, and yeah, great with those types of foods.
Very good. There you go. There you go. And if we're not pairing this lovely Austrian Riesling with some kimchi or Korean fried chicken, like what kind of things are you eating with that?
Well,
I mean, I could drink that just with friends.
It's a great patio wine, as we'd say, good for just sinking in the sun or just sharing with friends. We did wine and cheese night last night with some local people, and we were talking about cheese because cheese you associate with red wine, big red wines, maybe port or something sweet. But lots of cheese is really high in acid, especially white cheeses. So things like your mozzarella, your feta, ricotta, goat's cheese are all very, very high in acid and go really well with these high. In fact, they need a high acid white wine. So white cheese is always a good match.
We've got Dave in the YouTube chat giving us a little okay thumbs up, so it must be good. Roger as well enjoyed the first Funk Steel and likes this one. So Funk Steel have a range, don't they? We have the Gewürztraminer.
That was their first white.
Yeah. We have we've got the Riesling in now.
Yep.
We've had the Zweigelt, the red.
Zweigelt is red. Yeah. So Zweigelt is a native red grape to Austria. So they released the Gruner and the Zweigelt first, and this is a new release. They've also got a orange wine.
Oh, we tried it.
Yeah.
No.
Not a big fan of the orange wine. So
orange wine was on. Do you ever watch Food Unwrapped on Channel 4?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it was on there.
Wine. So orange wine you may have seen around, which is basically, so we sort of rewind to the winemaking process. All white wine is made from the clear juice of grapes. So all grapes, have clear juice, and so white wine is made from the juice of a grape. And then the colour for red wine comes from the skin. So even in a red grape, like Shiraz, for example, the juice is still clear. It's the skin that gives the colour. And so when we make red wine, we leave the skin in with the juice for a really, really long time. What they do with orange wine is take a green grape, squeeze the juice out to get the white wine, but then leave the skin in, not for colour, because it's just green, it's not going to provide but for the flavour of the skin, and that flavour is where you get the bitter tannin nature in red wine. And so what basically they're pairing white wine juice with bitter skins, and it's weird, isn't it?
It's weird. It's weird. Like we've enjoyed a couple of like entry level crossover oranges, but they're probably a bit more of a rosé than orange, really. But yeah, some of these extreme orange wines are.
It's a bit like sour beer, and I know there's loads of people that love sour beers. Like, I get it, but I can't get into it.
I'm not on board.
I can't get it. If you like sour beers, maybe it is for you. Check it out. Very, very trendy at the moment, but not for us.
No. We've not found one that we're like really, really happy to put out there. We wouldn't be putting one in Try Before You Buy just yet. Well, who knows? We might find one.
Surprise them next week.
Next month. Yeah. It seems like more of a summer thing to me.
Yeah.
That kind of orangey vibe. So there you go. That was white wine number 1. So get that drank, empty your glass, and get number 2 poured out. But while we do that, it helps us to get a little gauge on the room. Really, see what kind of money you've got.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly.
How people are doing.
What is your favourite type or grape when it comes to white wine. So just launched that in Slido. Again, if you've just joined or you didn't have the instruction at the start, go to slido.com and go to, enter the event code SG Wine Tasting, or you can scan that little QR code that's on screen. Be interested just to see what your favourite grape or type is when it comes to whites. Always good to know if we've got money, big money in the room or not.
Yep.
Here we go. It's all coming in. It's all coming in. But yeah, we did did a little tasting last night in one of the bars around here.
Yep.
Always good fun. Always get people. We had quite a few moments, didn't we?
We did. We had quite a few people that just. What were we talking about? We were talking about jammy reds.
We were talking about.
Come on to that later.
We talked jammy reds.
We were talking about
pricing.
We were talking about the love of Chardonnay. All sorts of stuff come up, but lots of sort of aha moments where I think. I mean, Christ almighty, maybe some people learnt something.
I think people learnt something.
Shit, we didn't mean for that to happen, did we?
Professor Sam. Here we go. Austrian...
Big Sancerre fans, lovely.
Chablis in there. Albarino, Rioja. White Riojas then, someone,
White
I guess.
Rioja, nice.
I guess. Why is Chardonnay big? We never get that.
Hello, Chardonnay fans.
Chardonnay fans in.
We're converting them.
Yeah, maybe we are.
Month to month. Austrian Riesling now.
Viognier,
Albarino.
Chenin, Gavi. Gavi, Sancerre, Chablis.
Big money people.
We've got a couple of big spenders in this evening.
Yeah, most of these, apart from a couple, most of these are on our sort of a high acid scale here. So our cool climate white wines. So we're talking zingy and zippy. Albarino, especially from the north of Spain, is very similar to this style of Riesling. Dry, crisp, zingy, almost a lemon sherbet fizziness to it. If you like that type and you like Albarino, just next door across the border in Portugal is Vinha Verde, which is actually made from Albarino and a couple of other grapes. That's worth trying. Chablis, which if the uninitiated is Chardonnay. All Chablis is made of Chardonnay. Chablis is just a region in the north of France. And again, Chablis in the north of France is about as cold as you can grow grapes in. In fact, in Chablis, in the early spring, when the buds are coming out on the grapevines and they're at most vulnerable, sometimes they light bonfires in between the vines to keep them warm. Like literally, keep their toes warm. So it's very, very cold, which makes Chardonnay, but not in that big fruity style, but in that clean, crisp, high acid style, which everybody seems to love. A couple of big guys in there as well. Viognier, White Rioja and Viognier and other types of Chardonnay can be pretty big.
Rodeo in there as well.
Nice mix. Nice mix though.
Nice mix going on. Right. So we'll come back to that. We'll ask you again when we move on to the reds. Having drank this again, I think people could benefit from maybe nibbling on some of them snacks because it is a stark contrast between
big jump
1 and 2. Yeah, big jump. So if you've had a sip of wine too and you're a little bit unsure, get some of them snacks down. You want some of that, some salt. The pretzels, they'll do the trick. Even the olives, they're salty as well. The more you drink it, Dave just now, the more you drink it, the better it gets. That first sip immediately after wine one.
It's flat.
Yeah,
it's flat. It's
really
like,
flat.
There's not a lot going on here because of the zinginess of wine number 1.
Yeah, this is why we give you a whole glass and not just a little sip, because sometimes you need to go in a couple of times. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes you've got to go in 1 or 2 times. So, get wine 2, please. The yellow label wine 2 poured and in your glasses. Right, let's have a little check here. See what's going down. Right, no questions. No questions at the minute. So, take us into wine 2 then, please.
Okie doke. So, for those of you who are well initiated into Try Before You Buy, you'll know that my favourite tool for deciding whether a wine is going to be up your street or not, for you personally, not for you all, for you personally, is weather. So if you know that you like those big, those sort of zippy, zingy, refreshing, high acid whites, or you know that you like big, fruity whites, or you like oaky whites, you might know a few grapes you like, and you might know a few countries you like, but you can't always rely on that. The most important factor is weather. If you can understand the weather of the wine in the areas of the wines you like, then you can use that to try new and exciting places that have the same weather to deliver wines that will match your tastes. So we've been in super cold Austria. We're going to move down south, pretty far south, into the sort of most southern parts of Spain for the second white wine. Manchuela, which is on the coast near the Mediterranean, but it's a little bit inland, but it is right at the south of Spain. So we are now moved into much hotter territory. As a result, the acidity in the grape that we've been talking about for Riesling is coming down because it sits out in the sunshine, and this natural acid in the grape is converted into sugars. Sugars we need because we want to make alcohol at the end of the day. So yeast will eat sugar, turn it into alcohol. So as a result, we'll get a higher ABV, which is always good. And also the sugars will create fruity flavors. So we were in that citrusy, zingy department. We're now going to get a bit more fruitful. Now in this wine, you shouldn't really notice this acidity drop down, really drop down. There's a stark difference. Maybe you'll notice the fruitiness and the richness coming through. When I say richness, this wine has more sugar in it, not to a level that you're going to think, oh, this is sweet, but you might start to sense that it tastes a bit thicker in the mouth, like the difference between skimmed or semi-skimmed milk, like the difference between if you had a glass of water and then you put some sugar in it and it become more and more rich and syrupy. Now, obviously, this isn't sweet, but the texture is getting a little bit richer. So we're in Manchuela. Manchuela, right down in the south of Spain, super, super warm. But in order for these grapes not to sort of get too hot, and when they get too hot, we call it flabby. I know, great term. Flabby wines, they lose all of their bites, they lose all of their refreshingness, and they just taste a bit meh. So in order to avoid that, Manchuela is actually quite high up. It's 700 meters above sea level on a plateau above the sea. And what that means when you've got altitude is at night it's hot, in the day it's hot, but at night it drops really, really cold. And having this large difference between warm in the day and very, very cold at night is perfect for grapes because they get all the sunshine and heat in the day to ripen up, but they sort of get a break in the evening. And that maintains a little bit of acidity in there, keeps it refreshing, keeps it dry so that we don't go into flabby territory. The grape is Macabeo. You may not have heard of Macabeo. Macabeo is the #1 white grape grown in Spain. It's used to make cava. So all cava in Spain is blended from Macabeo and a couple of other guys. In Rioja, where they speak Catalan, the word for Macabeo is Viura, and that is the white grape that appears in all white Rioja. So those white Rioja fans that we had up on the board earlier, you are drinking essentially the same wine. It's the same grapes from the same country in the same style. The only thing that's missing, no, it's not missing. This wine also has a little bit of oak, only a touch of oak. So the difference between this and a white Rioja is the Riojans love a bit of oak. They'll go French oak and American oak. They'll do the wine for a little bit in one and a little bit in the other to add rich, toasty flavors, buttery flavors, spicy flavors, coconut, that sort of thing. But with this, it's only had a whiff of oak, so it's almost imperceptible. The other thing about this wine, and then I'll shut up and you can carry on drinking it, is it is unfiltered, which might sound a bit scary. I know we were at a beer place last night. Those unfiltered beers, they scare me. Yeah. They're cloudy. Yeah. They're very, very cloudy. This isn't cloudy at all. I don't think it's noticeably cloudy.
I think it's actually like really crystal clear, verging on colourless.
Yeah, but unfiltered means that they didn't extract the yeast after the yeast had its fill of the sugar, and that adds a dairy-like flavour. So if they leave yeast in wine, it adds a dairy-like flavour, like a creaminess or butteriness to the wine. And I think you can taste that. There's a slight more richness to the wine.
I think it's worth noting as well, we said before, this is, I think we may have also written chili in the booklets for this.
Chili?
Manchuela chili.
Whoopsie. Sorry.
So it didn't get picked up in proofing because it's spelt correctly.
Oh,
it's just the wrong place. So yes, it's Manchuela in Spain. Mm-hmm. But this is an old vine wine as well. So this is old vine, which means that these are like 70, 80, maybe 100 years old. And when vines get older, they produce less fruit, but it's got more flavour.
That's it.
You'll see it written on a lot of bottles. Mm-hmm. In French, it's Vieilles Vins.
Yep.
And in Spanish, it's Viña Viejas.
That's it.
There you go. Look at that. See, someone's picked a thing or two up.
Old vine. It's a lot easier to do old vine than you might think. So the average grapevine, when it's planted in the ground, won't produce any grapes at all until it's about 3 years old. And then it will start to get use. Technically, old vine, I don't think there's any laws about it, but it's 60, 70, 80, right up to 100 years old. But that's surprisingly more common than you would think. It's not like this is super rare and therefore it's an expensive wine. I mean, it's not an expensive wine at all. Old vine you'll see in supermarket wines. It's one of the few words that doesn't really have any laws around it that can go on a wine bottle that actually is a decent signifier of quality. Like you know, you can rely on it. Where there's lots of other words that they put on the sides of wine bottles, but that's not necessarily the case.
And this ties in quite nicely to a question that's come in. It says, how important do you feel the label is? Now, you're asking a lot of questions there. There's a lot of different questions. So, how important is the label? Well, I think, obviously...
Aesthetically?
From a design... We'll park design for now. I think... how important is the label? Obviously, it gives you the route information that you need. Well, actually, no. The label that's most important is on the back. Because the back tells you, 100% tells you the region and the country and the alcohol percentage. Which is basically what you need to know to understand if it's the kind of wine you're going to like. What's on the front, you might pick up little things like old vine. You might it might tell you if there's any oak. Not always. Not always. And if we're in a Spanish-speaking country, it'll tell you how much time it's had by the use of the various reserva phrases. But beyond that, it is pretty much just a marketing.
Yeah, the labels are tough. Labels are tough. So the first thing to think about when you're looking at a wine label, say in the supermarket, is there's two stark differences between the way the New World tend to do it and the way that the Old World tend to do it. Now, arguably the Old World are moving a little bit more nowadays to the way the New World do it. So New World...
When we say Old and New World, we basically mean like...
New World, we're talking Chile, New Zealand. South Africa is a bit in between because it's actually been around as long as the French, but we class it as New World. California... Australia, whereas the Old World are essentially the places where the Romans turned up and planted grapes. So France, Spain, all the Middle Eastern countries, Mediterranean countries, that sort of thing. So in the Old World, Spain, France, Italy, those sorts of places, generally the label is by region first. For example, Bordeaux, Burgundy, Rioja, Chianti. These are all places in Italy, France, and Spain. The grape is nowhere to be seen. Because in the Old World, the region has very, very strict laws which dictate what the grapes will be, and you're kind of just expected to know that in that sort of Old World snobby way. So, for example, Chianti is a place. By law, it has to be made from Sangiovese, so they don't write Sangiovese on it. Bordeaux is a place. By law, it has to be Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, so they don't write Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. Burgundy is Pinot Noir, Rioja is Tempranillo, go on and on and on and on. So when you're looking at Old World bottles, you generally will read the label first. Garvey, we had Garvey. Garvey is a place, Cortese is the grape. So that doesn't give you a lot of help if you're looking for grapes. Again, that's where the weather could possibly help you to sort of understand. For example, Chablis is just a place, but now that you know Chablis is in the north, coldest part of France, you'll go, okay, that's going to produce crisp white wines.
If you're getting dry mouth during this, by the way, you can open number 3.
Open number
it in
3,
your glass, get it poured.
So that's the main difference. Whereas in the New World, they're a bit more commercial. They understand that you like Sauvignon Blanc. So they say, hey, this is Sauvignon from Chile or Sauvignon from New Zealand. And those are the two major differences, really. Apart from that, as Dan says, most of the best information will be on the back. There are a few things like in Spain, Reserva means 12 months in oak, Gran Reserva means 18, Crianza means 6. So that scale will explain to you how much oak it's had, but that only applies to Spain. And even if you see the word Reserva written on, I don't know, a bottle from Chile or a bottle from New Zealand, it's got nothing to do with it. They don't follow the same rules or anything like that. So it can be a bit mystical, the old labels.
Yeah, labels. Labels. Ultimately, we buy with our eyes. That is, it is a merchandising piece of, a design, and I think it's something, I say silly, something crazy. I think it's in the high 50s, the amount of people who will choose a wine based on the label.
I look at a wine based on its label.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I think isn't there also a school of thought that if people are unsure especially when it comes to giving wine as a gift, if it's got a pencil drawn castle and it says Chateau.
Anything that's got a castle. Oh, sorry, I thought you weren't finished. Anything that has a castle on, it seems to be the most reliable thing for people, which just obviously means nothing. So again, this brings me back to weather. Think about weather. Think about, what do I want? Do I want a thin, crisp, refreshing white? Do I want a big, fruity white? We'll come on to what that means for reds in a sec. Think about the weather and then go to the country that you think might be suitable.
Yeah. Cool. Helen and Steve really like this one. It's going on the list.
Excellent.
So I think, as long as we've won at least one person over.
Super.
With the jump. Roger in the chat as well. Needed a few sips just to readjust from the zinginess. For sure. Right, white wine number 3. So the last one of the whites. Remember, you should have got your reds out of the fridge if you haven't already. But yes, number 3.
Excellent.
Where do we go with this? Where do we start on this one?
Well, actually, we've segued.
We also should ask people what they're tasting. Really.
Oh yeah, we didn't do that.
No, we didn't do that.
For God's sake.
We didn't, but
I've got one job.
No, I know, but to be fair, it was such a stark difference. It was more important to tell them to persevere,
push through.
What
are you tasting?
What are you tasting with this one? Yeah, get number 3 and like. I mean, some of you might have jumped onto it already with, Waffle McGee over here. But what are you tasting in number 3? It's a big question to ask. It was a big question to answer. Don't worry. What kind of things are you tasting in number 3? Remember, Slido.com, use the event code SG Wine Tasting or scan that QR. What do we got going on here?
Well, we segue quite nicely because this is an example of a wine that generally is labelled by its place. It's an old world country, and the place is Soave. So, in Italy, in the north of Italy, there is a region called Soave. It's just next door to the region of Prosecco. And all Soave is made from Garganega. And so this isn't a Soave, but it is a Garganega. It's a Garganega blend. We'll come back to that in a second. But this is an example of where, actually, if you know about the regions and you know that Bordeaux makes Merlot and Cabernet, and I like Merlot and Cabernet, or Côte de Rhône, it's always Shiraz and Grenache, and I like Côte de Rhône and I like Shiraz Grenache. Well, you can get value for looking for those grapes together, but not under the Bordeaux label or not under the Côte de Rhône label, because these places are famous, they've got heritage, they've got snobbery, they're sticking all sorts of crazy prices on things just because of names. So if you understand, okay, I love Bordeaux, why is it I love Bordeaux? It's because it's Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon from a sort of temperate climate, so middle climate. You can look for Merlot and Cabernet blended together in the same weather. This Soave is Garganega and it's blended with Chardonnay. Chardonnay, French grape, does turn up in northern Italy quite a bit. It's much cheaper than Soave, which is actually gets more and more expensive by the year. But it is a fantastic example of what Soave delivers. Garganega, it's cool to temperate climate here up in Italy. We think of northern Italy, like the lakes and stuff, as quite cold. You think of skiing and stuff like that. It's actually the same distance from the equator as New Zealand is. So the same distance north as New Zealand is south. So it's actually quite warm, quite temperate. And so you get Garganega actually gets quite rich, there's a bit of weight to it. It's a bit more full-bodied than, say, your Pinot Grigio or something like that. Bang that in with some Chardonnay as well, which naturally is a big, thick, rich white wine. You get a fairly chunky white here. I think, it's got a tiny bit of oak, but not a huge amount. But
I think we've stumbled on somewhat of a Marmite one for our audience. We've got pineapple. We've got a bit of, that's a key one. Buttery. We've got a couple of bad ones. Well, hairspray with a sad face. So I'm assuming that's
hairspray.
Yeah, hairspray, acid, hairspray. Yeah, I mean, it's spicy, green apple, honey, lemon. All the kind of stuff we would expect. I think.
Yeah, for sure. So with this one, so when we do the white wines, what I try to do is start at the most acidic and gradually lower the acidity and move into the fruit. Now, yesterday when we tried these wines, I was a bit unsure if I'd got these the right way round. Now, tonight, now that they've been nicely chilled because they were a bit warm last night, I actually think we should have done it the other way around. I think we should have done like that, because I think we've got
put that one on the spot.
We've got super acidic, not as acidic, but still got some acidity, and then no acid. And I think now, for most of you, from going from the Macabeo in Manchuela to this, the acidity has jumped back up a tiny bit, and that might be, most people might be like, oh, I'm not sure about this now. So it's my fault. I am but human.
Yep.
Make mistakes.
Well, that's it. All I can say is persevere with it.
Push through.
As we've mentioned a few times, wine is one of the things where you should work up the body. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to judge.
I think we got it wrong this time. However, this is a fairly chunky white wine.
Yeah.
It's a great dinner table wine. So we had the red of this last month, didn't we?
Yeah, so this is the red was our middle wine last, the Merlot and Corvin. Yeah.
And I think these are fantastic table wines. As in get a few bottles of each and stick it in the middle of the dinner table when you've got loads of people around. this is probably going to be our dinner table wine for Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're going to run a
genuinely.
promotion on it, I think.
Yeah.
Drop the price a little bit, run a promotion on it. So if you're thinking Christmas parties or anything over the next couple of months, you know, dinner parties and stuff like that, great value for money, good all-rounder with the red for sure.
I would just say, if you've got a bit left in the pouch, save it and give it a go, give it a fresh go, because I do genuinely think this wine's lovely, but I think after two, it's
got it the wrong way
it's
around.
done it the disservice. But hey, give it a try. Some people enjoyed it. Before we go on to the reds, then just a couple of questions come in. This summer was incredibly hot. Will that be bad for the wine harvest?
For some it will, for others it won't. So for those in the northern parts, a good example would be somewhere like Chablis or Champagne, Champagne is a region next door to Chablis in the north of France. They're relying on the cold to keep the high acid in their white wines, especially Champagne. Process of making fizz needs very, very high acid white still wine to start with. As it gets warmer and warmer for them, especially with climate change, it's getting really, really tough. It's getting really, really tough for them. Equally, like when it happens in the other direction, when hotter countries experience freakishly cold winters, it's a problem. So it's only when it goes like outside of the norm when it's a problem. And then, you know, being too hot is an issue as well. So if you're in southeastern Australia making Shiraz, there is such a thing as too hot, but that's a little bit easier to manage because you can just harvest earlier.
Yeah.
But being too hot when you're trying to maintain acidity in a cold country, you know, you can't harvest that early. You've got to give the grapes time to grow. So it will have an effect for some regions more than others.
And one last one before we move on. Why is Grio named after the grape variety and not the area when it's an Italian, like it's Sicilian wine? But it's a new kid on the block, isn't it?
Sicily is a new kid on the block. They have sort of gone straight in. Commercially, they've made the decision to go New World. So Sicily as a region or as an island has had a pretty rough ride when it comes to winemaking. Basically just making like cheapest as they can, low quality grapes, planting it by the ton to make Madeira cooking wine, because that's what the government decided would be a good idea in their wisdom. So just to make loads of bulk cheap stuff. Now that nobody wants that, I mean, when was the last time you bought a bottle of Madeira wine for cooking? I mean, Marsala wine, sorry, for cooking.
Madeira is different.
Marsala, I mean, who buys that anymore? So the market's dried up, and what they're doing now is getting rid of that, tearing that down, and now the government are actually subsidising vineyards to go for higher quality. They're helping them out, giving them a leg up, go for higher quality winemaking, go back to indigenous grape varieties like Grio, like Nera d'Avola, like Catarato, like Frappato, all of which we have on store because they're fantastic. Sicily delivers great quality now because they're reinvesting, and great value for money because they are a new kid on the block. But they do adopt the New World style.
Very good, very good. We just had a couple of comments there. Loved 1 and 2, not a big fan of 3, but Adele and Kelly have then jumped back in and said, oh, a few olives, and number 3 is much nicer.
There we go.
I genuinely think you could benefit from a couple of them olives, bit of the cheesy snacks, just to reset.
Yeah, reset.
And then get involved
I think the acidity is fantastic in this, but it is lower than this one. But I think it is higher than this one, so we got it slightly wrong.
Cool. All right, well, we are going to move on to the reds now. So it's wine number 4. It is the green label. It's a red wine. So you can grab yourself a fresh glass if you want. Just make sure there's none of the white wine if you're just sticking with the same one. Roger says, since we were introduced to Nera d'Avola, never been let down when they've ordered it.
So good.
Sign of a good Italian, isn't it? If they've got a Nero on the menu.
If you're in your local Italian restaurant,
it tends to be house wine as well.
And it tends to be the house because it's cheap. It's great value.
Yeah.
That's a great choice by your local Italian restaurant if they've done that, because Italian red wines, lots of them have big reputations and big price tags, like Chianti or Montepulciano can be expensive nowadays. So Nera d'Avola, great example. Nera d'Avola, closest, for those of you who have like, what the hell and will I like it? Closest sort of example of like in terms of taste, Malbec. It's very similar to Malbec. Hot country Sicily, or hot island Sicily, just like Argentina, has quite thick skins, just like Malbec. It gets really smoothed out by the hot weather to make this sort of rich, dark fruits that we love about Malbec. Same in Nera d'Avola. So if you're a bit like, oh, will this be for me? Yeah, it's big for the Malbec fans.
Nice. Good. So just launched the poll there in Slido just to ask you, when it comes to red wines, what's your usual go-to grape, type, style, whatever? Just throw it down in there and let us know. You can use this opportunity as well, just have a quick bathroom break if you want. But yeah, get number 4 poured out in the glass and ready. Launched a pretty big product, didn't we? Before
Did we? What we launched?
What did we launch? What's that behind you there, Sam? Oh yes, hey, he's forgotten. Christmas is upon us nearly, but Christmas starts early, doesn't it, these days with Advent? So yes, we have launched our Advent calendars. They are here in all its glory. 24 wines using our lovely little pouching system that you're all enjoying this evening, actually. So 24 pouches of wine. There's a selection of whites and reds. You can choose whether you want a mixed case or whether you just want white or red in there.
Some good wines in it.
Some really
Can
good
we
wines.
afford this?
I'm not entirely sure. We've committed to it now. But look, they're on sale now. They're on pre-order. It's the first time we've done this, and it's the first time we've ventured on such the kind of product. So there is only a limited stock available because we didn't know if we were going to be oversubscribed, undersubscribed, whatever. So if you do fancy getting a wine advent calendar, I do urge you to get on there and grab one before they go.
Question.
Do
the rules for a wine advent calendar, are they the same as a chocolate advent calendar? I.e., can my kids have it before breakfast?
No.
Right.
No, they cannot.
Okay. What about me?
You could.
Right.
Wouldn't necessarily be particularly responsible.
Okay.
I think it depends on the kind of line of work you're in and whether you need to drive.
Well, that's fine for me then.
Well, yeah. I mean, in your line of work, yes, you probably could have a glass of wine before breakfast. But those are the wine advent calendars. Take a little look online. We tend to email them out as well, so you'll see there what's going on. But if you want a little break, you can take one now. Otherwise, we'll get cracking with wine number 4 in just about 30 or 40 seconds.
Christmas time, mistletoe and wine.
Now, granted, yes, that will have been a quick wee. But
I showed that to one of my 3-year-old, 4-year-old daughters. I went, look what those little guys are doing. What are they doing? And she just went, Daddy, which one are you doing?
the magic's lost.
The magic
is lost. That was a strange afternoon.
Yeah, it was a strange afternoon.
Yeah, I think it came out well.
I was really hungover that day. When we were like doing this, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't good.
Yeah, we've been out for dinner the night before, and got a little bit too deep in the wines.
Malbec?
Right. Yeah, Malbec. We expected that. What else we got? Pinot Noir, Grenache, Shiraz, GSM all the way.
Go on the GSM.
That's it. Yes. Love.
Okay.
Yeah, all good. Kind of stuff we expect. Zinfandel.
Don't mind a bit of
Also
Zinfandel.
known as a Primitivo. So if you like Italian Primitivo, in America they call it Zinfandel. Yes, they do make that really bad sweet rosé from it, but as a red wine,
fantastic.
Great. So yeah, California Zinfandel red, similar to a Southern Italian Primitivo. Really
GSM, for those who are like, what is going on there? Grenache, Shiraz, Mourvedre. Those are the 3 grapes that by law have to be in all Côte d'Aron wines, the most famous of which is Châteauneuf-du-Pape. But also you've got other villages coming through now that are quite popular, like Lirac, Queyran, Séguret, Ventoux. So they're all cru villages, like high status villages in the Côte d'Aron area. But all of those wines, whether they're £30 Châteauneuf-du-Pape or $9.99 Côte d'Aron Village, are all Grenache, Shiraz, Mourvedre. So if you like that style, you can get it in any price point from France, but also countries like Spain do fantastic GSMs, and Australia do fantastic GSMs as well. So you can get value elsewhere.
A couple of advent calendar questions have just come in as well.
Go on.
Should the whites be taken out and put in the fridge?
Only if you want to drink them at breakfast time, get them in the freezer. But if you're going to be having them when you get home from work, then pop them in the fridge in the morning, and when you come home,
Yeah, the wine. As long as you don't keep the entire calendar near the fire or radiator,
you'll be
they're
fine.
absolutely fine at room temperature. And yes, if you, when you open the door, if Santa's helper has left you a white wine that day, then yeah, bang it in the fridge and drink it.
But don't use this as an excuse to raid all 24 doors.
Yeah.
I've got to put them in the fridge, darling.
No.
Raid all 24 doors and smash them out on day 2.
No, they don't all need refrigerated immediately. They just, pop it in the fridge. And to be fair, the beauty of those pouches, they cool really quickly.
They do.
So if you didn't open the door till you got in from work, it wouldn't take very long for that to cool down. So.
And if anyone's wondering, well, hang on a minute, why do I need to put my cheese and wine kit in the fridge straight away, but not the advent calendar? That's because we have invested in state-of-the-art technology. It's coming. Coming soon.
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting.
I can't begin to explain how this technology is going to change our lives.
We've invested quite a lot of money in a big old machine from China, which is going to pouch for us, so he doesn't have to do it anymore. Yeah. And it's going to be using like this crazy state-of-the-art argon neutral gas to keep the wine fresher than ever for longer.
Fresher for longer without the fridge.
Yeah, without the fridge. So that's why
pouch 2.0
and the cheese kits and the Tara Before You Buy tasting kits will all move to that as well.
Yeah, very good. And so we haven't done a what you're tasting, and I think people are quite far into wine 4.
Should we just push on?
Let's just push on. Yeah, let's go with wine 4. So it's the first of our reds. It is number 4.
I'm gonna have a bit more. Sorry.
Ooh, look at him. Right. What are we doing?
Okay.
This was quite an interesting. This didn't split the room, but it was an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it's tasting better today than it was yesterday. Yeah. I think we got the temperatures wrong yesterday.
Okay.
So, talking about places where you can get great value for money, like Sicily, this is another place where you can get great value for money at the moment, and that is Portugal. Portugal has had a bit of a tough time when it comes to winemaking over the past few decades, centuries nearly. When the old British Empire rocked up all that time ago, and saw how brilliant the place was for planting grapes, and it really is fantastic for planting grapes, we took over and we used it to make port. And pretty much the entire Portuguese grape growing industry, if you like, has been monopolized by big brands like Sandeman's, Taylor's, Graham's, British-owned brands for a long old time. It was a bit of a racket, really, basically spying up all of the vineyard space and dictating the prices. Not ideal. The Portuguese government has stepped in of late and is, just like the Sicilian government, is subsidising old 5th, 6th, 7th generation winemakers to get out of those contracts and start making wine the way they want to make it. So not for port, for somebody else's profit, but in their own style, under their own name, and an expression of their growing capabilities. And there's loads of these coming through, but because they're a known entity, they're great value for money. So any Portuguese wine, literally any Portuguese wine, I would urge you to try it, and you might find an absolute gem. This is Porto da Ravesa. The region of Alejandro is the sort of middle to bottom half of the country, so the warmer half. Do urge you to try white wines from the north, like Vinha Verde we were talking about earlier, if you like those zippy styles. Most Portuguese wines, especially the reds, are a blend. They're almost always a blend. Single varietal wines like, just Sauvignon Blanc or just Shiraz is extremely rare over there. It's just not how they do things. It actually makes far more sense to do it in a blend situation. Basically, if you've got 3 or 4 different types of grapes that sort of okay with different weathers, some prefer the colder side, some don't mind when there's frost, some prefer it to be hot, then when the weather changes, you've got an insurance policy. Oh, those guys didn't do very well this year, but these guys have done fantastically, so you've always got enough crop to make a decent wine. That does 2 things. It insures them against some terrible disaster, like, for example, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is having a terrible disaster at the moment because of climate. Also stuff to do with COVID, but that's anything. It assures them against disaster, but also keeps prices stable because they know they're always going to produce a certain amount of wine. So yeah, this is a blend of 3 different grapes. I'm not even going to bother telling you them. They are in the booklet. They're extremely difficult to pronounce, and there's so many of them that it's kind of like not worth it.
We even put others.
Put others. When it says others, you know it's good.
Yeah,
they don't even know.
No.
They don't even know. They've got
Roger's picked up on that one.
Yeah.
Likes when it's with others.
Others. They don't even know what's gone in there. They've got fields and fields that were planted 100 years ago, and they're not even sure anymore. And that's no bad thing. That is actually how winemaking has been for most of its life. the single varietal obsession is a very modern one. It's more of a marketing one than anything. So, you know, the consumer goes, I like Sauvignon Blanc, that I enjoy that, and now I'm going to go to Sauvignon Blanc every single time. It's not really the best way to do things if you want great value and great quality wine. This red, for me, is fair. It's most Portuguese red. It's a warm country. It's pretty chunky and it's pretty full body. This is at the lighter end. Cooling effects of the Atlantic Ocean. This was planted right on the coast. Those Atlantic winds coming in, lowering the temperature, keeping acidity high. What does acidity mean in red wine compared to our sort of citrusy whites? Well, it makes the fruit more red and crunchy and sort of acidic, like a cranberry or a red berry or a red currant. And I think those are the types of flavors you're getting here. As we move into the hotter areas, those will turn into dark fruits and black fruits and then more cooked fruit flavors. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, if you like that sort of crunchy cranberry sauce style fruit flavors, like you get in cool climate Pinot Noirs, for example, say from France, I think this is up your street.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's nice. It's different. I do, to be fair, I do find Portuguese wines are all wildly different. And here's a question. Given that this is so many different grapes, can you expect these to be different every year? Because if the blend changes, surely that's got to change it.
Yeah, I mean, the winemaker will be aiming for a certain type of taste and flavour in his mind, and he'll be thinking about that when he's blending. But yeah, ultimately you're at the whim of you know, if one grape just does massively better, and so a lot more of that goes in, it will change the flavour year on year for sure. Not drastically enough, I would say, for you to go, oh Christ, I'm not sure about it this year.
Yeah.
But you might go, oh, it's a little bit different back to last time.
Question from Alex, may well be my Alex, by the looks of it. Hopefully he's not drinking the wine, he might just be watching. Can you make wine from other fruits, not just grapes?
Yeah, I mean, technically you can make wine from anything that produces sugar that yeast can eat and turn into alcohol. So yeah, strawberry wine, apple, anything.
You can. But then like it becomes cider, perry, mead.
Yeah,
those they're all very clearly their own. You can't make apple wine. You make cider.
I don't know.
Because it's the same process, isn't it? Well, I don't know. It's weird.
Because I suppose still cider is like apple wine, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fizzy. So I don't know.
When we talk about wine, it's fermented grape juice. Yep. So, but yeah, you might find other things. Who knows? Who knows? Right. That's number 4. So that's your first red wine done, sorted. Hope you enjoyed that one. Get number 2 poured and in your glass. I better finish this one. This time I am going to launch the poll to ask what you're tasting. Let's see what people are saying. Yeah, I think we might have even had a couple of Portuguese in the red when we asked people about the red. I'm sure there was a Dow in there.
Douro.
And a Douro.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so, because that when I think of Portuguese wines, again, yeah, it's right. You do just think about a region. You don't really think about, you wouldn't think of a Portuguese grape, would you?
The most
Verde.
The most famous one is Touriga Nacional, which is the main one that they planted to make port. But then after that, yeah, I mean, there's so many, and the names are a bit mad.
Yeah.
So Douro, which I think somebody mentioned, that's a region. That's the region that was mostly dominated by the port industry. Google Douro, amazing, beautiful place to go on holiday. So the Douro River runs through the middle of the country and escapes at Porto, into the Atlantic Ocean. The slopes down into the river are so ridiculously steep. There's no way to do machine harvesting. It has to be done by hand because of the steepness of these slopes. And so all the vines are planted on those slopes going down into the river. And it's that which makes great quality wines, the cooling effects of the river. So they get loads of Portuguese sun, but like I was talking about with the altitude in Manchuela, the river cools down at night time, keeps everything cool to keep the balance. But yeah, beautiful place. Nice. But that's the Douro.
Nice. Yeah. And yeah, you see, do you know where you see a lot of Portuguese wine? Aldi. I've had quite a few different Dow wines from Aldi. Yeah, it's a good region, good country. Definitely get some value. Straight in, someone said tobacco, and I didn't pick that up yesterday, but as soon as I smelt this, I did.
Yeah, it does have a tobacco.
Really, today. I don't know if it's because obviously we opened that bottle last night. I know it may or may not have had the effect on it, but yeah, Malbecki dry,
Mhm.
smoky.
Smoky, yep.
Yeah. Getting all of that tonight.
For
all
sure,
of that.
for sure.
Bit of an unusual one, this one, isn't it? It's
Yep.
not what you would expect when you find out the grape that it is.
No, it's...
Well, I say find out. They've got it in the books.
Yeah, it's a bit chunkier than we'd expect, and a lot more going on.
Old Church Pew.
Old Church Pew.
Oh,
Now
yes.
we're talking.
Now, this is why I like Wine 4.
Yeah.
It's not because it's all about the reds. This is where we get
Creative.
refined Helen Mirrens and Old Church
Burnt
Pew.
Match.
Yes.
Come on, any
Burnt Match.
advance on Old Church Pew and Burnt Match?
Burnt
Come on,
Match.
people.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thesaurus out.
This is it. Nice. Farmy.
Yep, farmy hard for sure.
Yeah,
Never.
farmy. Take that.
Excelente.
Yeah.
Like it.
Right. What are we saying?
Okay, so we're in Chile. We've got Pinot Noir here. So Pinot Noir, pretty much the lightest of all of the red grapes. What do I mean by lightest? Well, it has super thin skins. So unlike Malbec or Shiraz, which has quite thick skins, that mean they can tolerate hot weathers. Pinot Noir has very, very thin skins. That means lower tannins, so we don't get that bitter grip from the red wine, like a red wine like Pinot Noir, like we do with those bigger, chunkier numbers. It means that it can only tolerate the cooler to moderate climates. So that means it won't be as full-bodied, it won't have as much alcohol, and so it is on the lower, lighter end. However, that is not the case for this red wine at all. Chile, very, very unique country. Fantastic country for wine growing. So we've talked about weather and its impact on wine and its flavour, and essentially how it dictates the rules on what your wine is going to taste like. And for most countries, they're stuck with that. You know, Chablis as a region and France as a country are stuck with making wines that match the weather they're going to get. Even with global warming, it doesn't change that much. With Chile, as a country that runs so far from north to south, because it's such a long, thin country, it goes from being very, very close to the equator to almost close to the Antarctic. You get Humboldt penguins coming up from the Antarctic to the Chilean coast. It's got the Pacific Ocean, and it's got the mountains, huge mountain plains. It basically has a blank canvas when it comes to wine growing, in that it can pick where to put the grapes and what weather it will get. If it wants it super cold, it'll put it high up a mountain in the north. If it wants it super hot, in the south, sorry. If it wants it super hot, it'll put it up in the north on some flat plains in the middle of a desert. And so it can really turn the dial, if you like, on its winemaking, unlike any other country out there. So Chile, as a country, very difficult to predict what the wine's going to be like, because you don't know about the weather. It could be all sorts, but also massive variety, and I urge you to try as much as you can. This is from the Central Valley in Aconcagua and Lleida Valley specifically. This Pinot Noir. This is on the warmest, the central plains, the warmer parts in the north, and as a result, we've got 14.5% on this Pinot Noir. They've really pushed this Pinot Noir to the limits of how hot it can be, and generated lots of ripeness. It's big, it's fruity. It's moved out of that crunchy cranberry that we had in the Portugal and moved into the sort of berry fruits, blackberry and currant, because of that warmth. We've got oak aging in here as well. I can't remember how long, I think about 6 months in French oak. What this has also got, Pinot Noir is excellent for developing in the bottle. This wine is 2 years old now, it's 2020. We're not talking vintage here. By putting bottles away for 10, 20 years is a whole other game we'll talk about another time, not really relevant. But actually Pinot Noir, once it gets into the bottle, and if it's great quality, a couple of years, that's when you get what we call in the game tertiary flavours, so third level flavours. So the first is the fruit, second is what happens with the oak, and then third is what happens in the bottle afterwards, tertiary flavours. And those were our tobacco, our church pew, our match, our farmyard. They happen in the bottle as the wine is essentially decaying with time. That's genuinely what's happening. Those tertiary flavours come in, and some people hate them. I'm not a massive fan of tertiary flavours myself. I wasn't getting on with this last night. Last night I was a bit disappointed with it. I think the fruits come out a bit since yesterday to balance. So the primary flavours have come out a bit since yesterday. So it was a bit too just farmy for me yesterday. But now it's got everything. And everything that this is doing, the fruit, the alcohol, the oak, the tertiary flavours. It's doing all of this stuff is what makes Burgundy in France one of the most popular places to drink Pinot Noir and commands the prices. And so if you are a Burgundy fan, if you like those, top flight, Gevrey Chambertins and stuff like that, maybe you're thinking of splashing out at Christmas for your turkey dinner with that type of wine, save your money, because this is a cracking example of how good Pinot Noir can be.
Yeah, I mean, I love Pinot Noir. I quite like a big red as well, but I do enjoy Pinot Noir mainly because I can drink 2 bottles of it. But I really like this, and I think
this isn't your 2-bottle Pinot
Oh
Noir.
God,
This isn't your smash it back grape juice Pinot Noir.
This is a big lad. And I saw in the YouTube chat there, Roger saying, "Wow, very much surprised me. This one, very unexpected." And that, we know Roger, regular around here, loves a Tribuna, like a nice big red.
Yeah, big red. Yeah.
And to then be like, "Oh, hang on, I'm drinking a Pinot Noir here, and I'm enjoying it." This is, I think
It's classy winemaking. This.
Yeah.
It's a single vineyard wine as well. What that means is, goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Most grape growing and winemaking is done not from just one single plot, but multiple plots to ensure yourself against, that plot not doing as well. But once in a while, you get a single plot of vineyard, which is in just the right spot, so that year after year after year, it gets great results, and that they call that single vineyard. So it's worth looking out for. You pay a little bit more. This is the most expensive wine tonight, I think, at 11 and a bit. But it's a class act, and you would pay, I'm going to say, 20 to 25 quid for a Burgundy like Gevrey at the same quality as what this is delivering.
Yeah. Great wine. A big fan of that. Big fan of that. Right, it is time for our last wine of the evening. So it's wine number 6, green label number 6. I am going to ask you what you are tasting. So
we are flying through these.
We really are. Are we? Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are flying
Going fast tonight, guys.
Not
Get
a lot
some
of
questions in.
Get questions in before we go on to this. We've got a nice group out there in Plymouth joining us. Yeah,
Sunny Plymouth.
I think Emma and Pals appear to be joining us. There they
Oh,
are.
hello.
Hello, Emma and Pals joining us.
They look like they're having a good time.
You can see us in the background. We're on their TV.
We're on the telly.
We're on telly.
Is that a lava lamp?
That looks like 2 lava lamps.
I haven't seen a lava lamp since I was about 13.
We've got one over there.
Yeah, I know, but we use that for something. We use that for comedy.
Yeah. It looks like they've got 2 lamps. I mean, it's a.
That's a rug and a half as well.
I think that. Let's have a quick look. It is 2 lava lamps.
Excellent. 3. There's a third one.
What?
There's a giant one by the telly.
There are 3 lava lamps. Oh yeah, because there's one near the dog. There we go.
That dog is like getting a sensory overload.
Multiple lava lamp lounge there from Emma.
Thank you, guys. Nice to have you joining us.
Thanks for having you joining us. Thanks for sending the pictures in. Again, love to see some more of people's setups.
Yeah,
please.
We do like to see the setup.
Send us a picture, what you're doing. How have you got... The thing that gets me that we never get photos of that I'd love to see, I don't know why. How do people display their snacks on these things?
Yeah.
I'll put it on there.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
How do you...
Do you decant?
Do you decant your snacks, or do you open the packet?
Oh, yeah.
Surely not with the olives.
I've tried. Those olives are a bastard to open, aren't they?
Well,
Scissors.
yeah.
You can't tear them.
They're not got a tear. No.
They do, but it's rubbish.
Who doesn't love a lava lamp? Let's just go in. I think I would say I have the average amount of affection for a lava lamp.
Yeah. When you got that lava lamp for a video we were doing, I'd forgotten. It has been about 20 years since I had one, and I picked it up. I tried to move it whilst it was on.
Yeah.
Paid for that, big time.
For that. I've got about an average level of lava lamp affection. I'm not sure I'd have 3.
3.
That's a bold statement, but
That is
I love it.
amazing.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to the lava.
To the lava lamps. Right, so here we go. Number 6. What things are we tasting? Oh, here we go. Yes, jam, fruit crumble, strawberry milkshake.
Strawberry milkshake. I like that.
I like that. Barbecue sauce. Yes,
Yep.
I would say
Yeah.
this is McDonald's barbecue sauce in a glass.
Yeah,
I think that's where we're going.
I'm on board.
Love it. Capital letters. Delish. Dates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Like it.
Yeah, it's better tonight.
Mm.
It is better tonight. I don't know how did we get the reds wrong? Were they too cold? They can't have been.
No, I
They
don't
taste.
know.
They do taste better
They
tonight.
do taste better tonight.
Maybe just adult Ribena.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Jam, though, biggest one in the
Yeah.
centre. Absolutely. Jam. Should we talk about jam?
Let's talk about jam.
Jammy wines, super popular at the moment.
Yeah.
Especially if it's got it in the name. I'm sure you guys have seen them. Jam Shed, etc. It's very, very popular taste profile at the moment for red wines. The jammier, the better. What is that? Well, I talked about how the cool climate reds, they've still got that acidity. So they're in the red fruit, sort of crunchy, cranberry, raspberry type area. Excuse me. Then the moderate, sort of more warmer climates for red wine, you're going to get black currants and blackberries and maybe a bit of blueberry as well. Blueberry quite common for Malbec. You go really hot, we're going to the super hot areas. We're talking California, southern Italy, Australia. We move into jammy territory, and that's where the fruity flavors, literally, it's so hot, they become cooked. They taste like, who said plum crumble? They taste like plum crumble. You know, the fruits have been cooked down and jammified. They raise the sugar levels. They are sweet, but because the only grapes that can cope with that level of heat have got very, very thick skins, there's a lot of tannin in there as well. So it's balanced with there is bitterness in there, but the sweetness comes in to balance it. And you get these big, bold, rich flavors. Shiraz, fantastic for making jammy reds, and the Australians do it extremely well. That's where we are here. Thistledown. So the Australian wine scene, if you like, for want of a better word, was founded in the early 19th century by two Scotsmen. Two Scottish fellas, James Busby, and I forget the other guy's name. Sorry,
So
mate.
were they just not making wine in Australia at this point?
Yeah, literally, weren't making wine in Australia, early 19th century.
Cactuses.
Yeah, just two Scottish guys.
Poisonous animals.
Yeah, two Scottish guys rock up and go, plant some. I was going to do an accent, but I left it.
Chicken.
Yeah,
I could
chickened
see
it.
in his eyes. He absolutely bailed.
We're going to plant grapes here.
Yeah.
And Thistledown is one of the last remaining winemakers out there that still have that Scottish connection, sort of Scottish born and bred. They say Scottish ingenuity makes Australian winemaking. I don't know what that means, but hey, they make fantastic wines. This is old vine again, so old vine Shiraz. So these guys are 80 to 100 years old. So as Dan explained earlier, much less crop. There's less grapes on the vine, but much better quality. But Christ, Shiraz loves that Australian heat. It can really suck it up. The skins can take it. On its own, Shiraz, big, dark fruit, spicy. Shiraz has a pepperiness that just comes naturally with the grape. Big, chunky, jammy red wines. What they've done here is, and I missed it on the booklet. I'm going to say I missed it. I missed it, and then I saw it, and I thought, I can't be bothered to change it. There is actually only 87% Shiraz on here. It is a blend. It's not just Shiraz. There's 13% Zibibo. Zibibo being the Australian name for Muscat. Muscat, I'm guessing you might have seen on French white wines occasionally. It's not super common, but Muscat is a French white grape. It's used for a lot of dessert and sweet wines. What I think the guys at Thistledown have done here really, really cleverly is they've made a beast, and they've tamed it. I think this would be 15 and a bit % if they hadn't have put in a little splash of the Muscat.
That's Dave Heathcote territory there, 15.5%.
Yeah. They thought, I think they possibly made a beast and thought no. And they've sort of diluted it essentially with the Muscat, and it's just lightened it a bit. And I think it makes it scarily drinkable for how much flavour's going. Like, it's very easy to drink.
Yeah, we've also had a lot of love. You know, jammy reds are very much the flavour of the moment for reds.
Yep.
You know, it's a flavour we like. So, you know, Tracy and Kev loving it. Helen and Steve divided. She loves it. He's not too keen. Anonymous, not a fan. What food would you pair with it? Something like this.
Oh, that is a good question.
Because it is peppery with the Shiraz. There is spiciness to it.
So I think, I mean, we're getting a bit out of season for it now, but if anyone's doing a barbecue where they like spiciness, you know, so like spicy ribs or anything like that, this has definitely got enough sweetness to have some spice, like we were talking with earlier with white wines. You know, like a barbecue sauce or a hot sauce or buffalo wings or something like that. Normally, when it comes to something like a Shiraz or a Malbec or a Cabernet, when we've got thick-skinned red grapes that love the heat, those thick skins create lots of tannin, lots of bitterness, and lots of grip, the thing that dries out your gums. And that can be eased with steaks and meats and proteins. There's a particular protein in red meat which breaks down tannin and makes wine taste more fruity. That's why like Argentinian Malbec is fantastic with steak. The steak literally chemically makes the wine nicer to drink. For this Shiraz, I'm going to say we're a little bit out of that territory because the tannin is so masked by the jamminess, by the sweetness of it. So, tricky one. I think we're actually here, I know it's not got the ABV, but we're almost in port territory for sweetness. So I would say cheeses.
Cheese.
Yeah, a nice cheese board. If you don't want to have port
Yeah.
with your cheese, something at this level of sweetness would be good.
A bit too sweet at the end for me. How do you think it would be chilled? It brings the bitterness out, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
when you
might
chill
bring
it?
the bitterness. So when you chill a red wine, the tannin bit that I was talking about with the big guys comes forward more. That's why it's kind of okay to chill light red wines like Pinot Noir that have thin skins and low tannin because the bitterness is quite minimal, so it won't come forward. If you chill a big guy like a Shiraz or a Malbec, the bitterness will come forward. So I don't know. This might not have enough sweetness to manage it.
Back onto decanting snacks.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that what goo pots are designed to be
Like it.
reused for? Yes.
Like it.
Or do you know what else is good for this? Aldi do a lovely baking cheese. Have you ever had those?
The
In
Aldi
the,
baking cheese.
in the little
yeah.
terracotta pots.
Yeah, yeah.
They're fantastic. A as a cheese and B for reusing a snack. Snack
Yeah.
snack
the
thing,
terracotta.
and or putting a very small amount of gravy in for doing like British tapas, getting a few, make roast potatoes, just have a little dip, a little shallow dip of gravy. Beautiful.
Patatas bravas.
Patatas gravas, yeah.
That's
There
a
you go.
thing.
That's
We'll market
we've
that.
made
We'll
it.
sell it.
We'll sell that. Sell that. Pack it in. Put it. We could put it straight in the air fryer.
Hello.
Air fryer, ready-made roasts. There you go.
Patatas
Patatas gravas, right? With a lovely dipping gravy.
Scots do everything better. I
Yeah.
wonder if a Scotsman said that.
I would guess so. Maybe that's how, it could be some, probably not our Plymouth friends, although they are anonymous this evening. So, another question's come in on YouTube. Sommeliers.
Oh,
Sommeliers.
Yeah.
This has come from Roger. Always nervous about asking them to recommend a wine. Will they recommend always something that's just expensive?
no.
What's the best way to work with them? How do you, they're a necessary evil
They
in our
are a
lives,
necessary evil.
apparently.
So,
First off, if you're in a restaurant that has a sommelier,
doing all right.
you're already doing all right.
Doing
So
all right.
are you worried too much about whether it's expensive? No, of course. Whether you've got the money to spend or not, everyone wants value.
Yeah.
How do you work with a sommelier?
So,
Or even a waiter?
yeah, or even a waiter. Well, let's go sommeliers. We'll talk about waiters. That's a little bit different. But sommeliers, I've worked with lots of sommeliers. I started my life in fine dining, not as a sommelier. I was the waiter next to the sommelier getting all the glory. I was the guy just putting the food on the table whilst he was getting all the glory. Sommeliers are trained to a level way, way beyond mine. Way, way beyond mine. Their understanding of the flavour of a particular wine and the knowledge of a region, and that is incredible. What they have to go through, the studying they have to do is incredible. They have, I'm telling you this now, no interest in upselling you. These guys, they're mavericks sommeliers. They're only out for themselves and they just want to be like, deliver you the best result so that they get the credit. They're not on commission or anything mental like that. They're probably on minimum wage if they're lucky. They don't care about upselling you to expensive. They want to get you the best result. What a sommelier will do, if they are great, and most of them are, is they will ask you what you normally like and what you normally drink. They'll digest that and then they'll push back to you something that they are certain you will enjoy. So if you have the luck and the privilege to be in a place that has a sommelier, make the most of them. Don't be afraid to tell them what you like drinking. You know,
And what you like paying.
and what you like paying. Yeah, absolutely as well. You know that. I mean, most sommeliers they understand that price is a thing. When I used to work for Gordon Ramsay, and I used to take care of the private dining, and so I'd be the waiter for private dining, and I'd work with a sommelier. And so my job when the diners would arrive would to be go and check for like allergies and stuff like that, see how people wanted their meat cooked and that sort of thing. The sommelier would go in and he would find the host or the guy or girl, sorry, who was going to maybe sort of order the wine. And the first question he would ask is, what do you want to pay? Because that's where we start, isn't it? Let's you know, if there's a wine list that says, you know, 30 to 30,000 pounds on it, wouldn't be stupid to say where are we tonight? Like
Yeah.
what? And then
Yeah.
and so don't be afraid to say, hey, I want I only want to spend this, please, and this is what we like and this is what we enjoy. Don't be embarrassed or anything like that. I guarantee you these sommeliers drink plenty of £6 bottles from Aldi, and they know which £6 bottles to buy. So yeah, don't be nervous about that. Just tell them everything you need to know. Waiters, wine training in your average local pub or restaurant, or even your restaurant chain like a Zzz's or something like that, it's not great, to be honest with you. You probably really just save yourself and go it alone, and go with what you know, maybe what you've heard tonight, i.e. look for the regions and the countries that might have similar weathers to what you know. For Christ's sake, do not buy the second bottle up on the wine list. It's the most popular one, and restaurants know that. So they know that you don't want to look like a cheapskate and go for the house. So they make the second one up, the one where they'll make the most profit, and they'll generally make it a grape that you recognize, so you're even more drawn to it, and they'll have got it cheap, and the quality will be poor, and so you'll pay over the odds. Don't be scared to go for the house. There's nothing wrong with the house. That's probably where you'll get the most value, because they'll have driven their supplier down on price, and in return you'll get the better quality rather than them sort of inflating a price to overcharge you. But try to go for just above the second one down, the middle area, the middle to cheaper area. That's where there's lots of great value.
Yeah,
But
depending on how big the wine list is, that third or fourth one can
that
be.
third or fourth one, it may be a bit unusual. It might be a bit, I'm not sure what that is. Pickpool rocks up in third place and fourth place on white wines all the time. Awesome grape if you love, citrusy whites. Try and dabble in that area, and you might think I'm in unknown territory, but I guarantee you'll have more good results than you will bad.
There you go. You heard it here first. Right, unless there's any other questions, that's done. Not a bad little run through.
Good wines, liked it.
Yeah, I think we had a.
We went a bit off piece.
Yeah, we went. Yeah. I'm going to just launch the poll for wine of the night now. Wine of the night. Just to see, really interested what people thought. I think I know where this is going to go. I'd love to know which one for you was top. Get on to the wine of the night. Yes, one. I had a feeling this is going to be.
Is it going to be a landslide victory? All red sixes creeping up there. Wine twos coming through.
Yeah. Wine two. Yeah, I mean two. I knew it was going to. I had a very strong suspicion it was going to be 1 or 6, which tends to be the way. But that is our buying habits at the moment. It is.
White wine lovers,
the lightest of white,
like them light and citrusy,
red.
and red wine lovers like them big and fruity. That is where we sit at the moment. It's the same for me. That's how I like my two. But yes, it looks like a bit of a landslide. I'm pleased about the love for the Macabeo from Manchuela. Like it. If you enjoyed the Pinot Noir, by the way, guys, but it's a little bit out of your price range, we're also going to have another fantastic Pinot Noir come in under special offer for the Christmas period, which if this is a little bit too pricey for, maybe your Christmas Day dinner with turkey and stuff like that, another great example of Burgundy that's not Burgundy is coming up. It's called Mont Sablé.
Yeah, we've got it in.
Oh, yeah, it's in the store. Yeah, sorry, but we're going to be doing an offer on it for Christmas because we tend to every Christmas. So if you loved that, look out for Mont Sablé as well. Great example of Burgundy that's not Burgundy, where you can get great quality and value for money. Because I do know that is a little bit pricey.
Yeah, but it's a great one.
Yep.
It is a great one. Right, let's just see. Any final questions before we wrap up? I think we're all covered off. Thank you for joining. We're back again. I want to say 28th of October, possibly.
Sounds about right. I'm not sure.
Sounds right. Somewhere in that region. It is. Ticket is on the. It is online.
Mm-hmm.
You can grab a kit now for the 28th of October. Yep. Whether that's the last Friday or not, I've said it's 20.
Yep.
The last Friday in October, it is available. If you have enjoyed this one and you don't want the hassle of having to remember, you can subscribe. You can subscribe. The email that's coming out very shortly with the wines in, the link to the wine collection, does have a little link to the subscribe. You can save yourself a few quid and subscribe to this.
I think you save about 3 or 4 quid per go if you subscribe. So
exactly. Worth doing. We're still requesting a sherry and port tasting for Christmas. There's plans in place.
Yeah.
We're working it through. Obviously, pouching smaller does require a little bit of thought, but it's possible. It is entirely
think
possible.
about it.
Because unfortunately, we'd love to give you 125 mils of port and sherry, but it would become uneconomically just ridiculous.
As well as the cheese and wine kit that I'm sure most of you have seen or had, and our best of Spain, best of Italy, best of France. I don't know if anybody's checked out the best of England. Fantastic English wines.
We've got limited stock.
Oh, limited stock. Yeah. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. We've not got very many.
No, do you know what it is? They're bottling it like 45 miles down the road. It's harvest time, and we're waiting on one of the 6 to come in.
I wasn't going to plug it. I was going to mention that we've got 2 other kits coming, our Go Big kits. So if you're enjoying the kits and you want something a little bit more flash, we've got 2. We've got the Go Big Red and the Go Big White. They are going to be 6 examples of real, big premium, I'm going to say, but they are great value. Sexy wines. That's what I'm going to say. Sexy wines.
You know, they're the big hitting names that you expect to see. Well, give us a little flavour. I know have we got an Amarone in there?
We've got an Amarone. We've got 2 cracking Californians. We've got a Californian Red, a Californian White. We've got a Bordeaux blend from South Africa, which frankly just is so much better than anything you can get from Bordeaux. We've got basically a load of wines that are just big show-offs. They are ridiculous show-offs. They're the sort of wines that you might buy for a special occasion at Christmas, but before you delve into a bottle of them, you want to sample a little bit of the high life without separating yourself from too much money. The Go Big kits will be coming soon.
Equally, if you want to use it as a try before you commit to maybe spending a bit more money on, because some of these wines some of these are going to be kind
15 quid a bottle.
15 up a bottle, which is, that's more than we've ever sold a wine on Smash Grapes for. And it's about the limit that we think is...
They're special occasion wines. Yeah. They're worth every penny, for sure, and we're selling them cheaper than you will find anywhere else. But they're special occasion wines. We get that. They would be for me. I wouldn't be spending that sort of money too often. Yeah. So it's a good way to try them, because you just get a little pouch of each, obviously, and think, hey, which one of these is my favourite? Maybe you'll get a couple of bottles for Christmas Day.
Yeah, we're going to get that kit out as soon as possible. So yeah, if you are thinking about getting something in a little bit special for Christmas, we can help you out. Try a few nice ones before. Speaking of special occasions, the Williamses smashed the 80th with a load of Durella, Tribuna.
I saw that picture.
Yeah.
I mean...
What a picture as well.
Did he drink all of that?
I would love to know the picture of Roger, the picture of your dad with all the bottles. Was that just his serving?
If that was his 80th birthday and that's what he drank, hats off to the man.
I feel like it's a bit like Lemmy. Maybe he has to keep that level of alcohol to just,
If he stops, then
he stops. Yeah. No, but glad you had a good time. Thanks for getting your wine from us here, and glad the new blend Tribuna still hit the spot, because
absolutely.
Most of it. Nice.
Good stuff.
Right, there you go. Thanks a lot. We will put some thought into this sherry port tasting for Christmas. It's something we do. It already exists as a concept. The tipples, the Christmas tipples. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. We will launch it as soon as we can. But look, thanks for joining us. We will see you all the end of next month. I'm gonna make a bold statement here. We've been speaking for a couple of weeks about launching something a little bit new, a little bit different, a different concept, bit of content that's going to come out next month.
Oh yeah,
we're going to do it next month. I've committed to it in public.
Yep,
we're going to make it happen.
It's happening.
We won't tell you exactly what it is.
Do you want me to tell them what it is?
Yeah, because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
So we're going to do a tasting that you can join in on and be a part of on maybe a Thursday night, maybe a Wednesday night, where you don't have to buy anything from us, and it's not about spending money at Smash Grapes. It's about sort of us helping you out with some consumer advice. So what we will do is we're going to pick a big named brand, might be like Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc, It might be 19 Crimes. It might be, I don't know, Hardy's Merlot. We're going to pick a big name. Our man in the field, Justin Sims, who you won't have seen on any of our video content yet, but he does a lot of wine writing and a lot of consumer research for us.
The Wine Nerd.
At the Wine Nerd. Justin will be joining us virtually in the studio. He'll be up there or on your screen. And Justin's going to go out. He's going to take that famous bottle, and I say famous not in the posh, expensive way, but in the popular, in the supermarket way. And he's going to find you guys 3 fantastic alternatives that you can find in your local supermarkets or local shops. So not with us, but in Aldi, in Lidl, maybe in Waitrose, wherever.
Ooh, someone's flush.
Hello.
Hello.
So yeah, he's going to go out and he's going to find 3 fantastic alternatives to that big brand name. We're going to be tuning in with him virtually. Me and Dan will be in the studio trying the wines, probably for the first time. We won't know where they've come from. And just for you guys, you can join in. You can go out. If we tell you it's going to be Cloudy Bay Sauvignon next Thursday, you can go out and see what Sauvignon Blanc you can find in your local supermarket, or maybe your local wine merchant, little independent store would be awesome. And you can join us on the tasting. It will be on YouTube. We're going to stream it live on all the socials, so it's really easy to access. And you can let us know what you found and whether or not you think your find was better than ours. And yeah, just sort of share some advice, because I run a wine business, but I still spend plenty of time looking at the shelves in Aldi, where we do our weekly shop, Lidl occasionally, Sainsbury's, seeing what's out there. And I'll grab a bargain if there is one to be had. So what we want to do is create a tasting that's not about buy smash grapes wine, but it's about, hey, where can we find the best deals out there? So we'll keep you posted. We'll let you know when it's going to be. It will be in October.
100%.
And we'll let you know what it's going to be so that you can join us with a bottle of your choice as well.
Amazing. Right, there you go.
That sounds like a bloody good plan, that.
Do you know what? It sounds like a good idea, that. Right, I will see you all soon, I'm sure. But from us, thanks for joining, and cheers. See you on the next one.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thanks. Good night.
Bye.